Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be reading the Wikipedia on chairs because you can't go wrong with talking about chairs. So, without further ado, let's get start. One of the basic pieces of furniture. A chair is a type of seat. Its primary features are two pieces of a durable material attached as a back and a seat to one another at a 90-degree or slightly greater angle, with usually the four corners of the horizontal seat attached in turn to four legs, or other parts of the seat's underside attached to three legs or to a shaft, about which a four-armed turnstile on rollers can turn, strong enough to support the weight of a person who sits on the seat, usually wide and broad enough to hold the lower body from the buttocks almost to the knees, and leans against the vertebral back, usually high and wide enough to support the back and to the shoulder blades. The legs are typically high enough for the seated person's thighs and knees to form a 90-degree or lesser angle, used in a number of homes, e.g., in living rooms, dining rooms, and dens, in schools and offices with desks, and in various other workplaces. Chairs may be made of wood, metal, or synthetic materials, and either the seat alone or the entire chair may be padded or upholstered in various colors or fabrics. Chairs vary in design. An armchair has armrests fixed to the seat. A recliner is upholstered, and under its seat is a mechanism that allows one of the lower chair's backs and raise into place and fold out footrest. A rocking chair has legs fixed to two curved slats, and a wheelchair has wheels fixed to an axis under the seat. Chair comes from the early 13th century English word chair, from an old French chair, seat, throne, from Latin cathedra seat. History. The coronation chair, circa 1330. The Mont Blanc chair is a lightweight, stackable polypropylene chair, usually white in color, often described as the world's most common plastic chair. The chair has been used adequately through many centuries. It was a symbolic article of state and dignity rather than an article for ordinary use. The chair is still used as an emblem of authority in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom and Canada, and in many other settings in keeping with the historical connotation of the chair as the symbol of authority. Committees, boards of directors, and academic departments all have chairman or chair. Endowed professorships are referred to as chairs. It was not until the 16th century that chairs became common. Until then, people sat on chests, benches, and stools, which were the ordinary seats of everyday life. The number of chairs which have survived from an earlier date is exceedingly limited. Most examples are of exceptional, singular, or fugal origin. Chairs were in existence since at least the early dynastic period of Egypt, or 3100 BC. They were covered with cloth or leather, were made of carved wood, and were much lower than today's chairs. Chair seats were sometimes only 10 inches or 25 centimeters high. In ancient Egypt, chairs appear to have been the greatest, richest, and splendor, fashioned of ebony and ivory and carved and gilded wood. They were covered with costly materials, magnificent patterns, and supported upon representations of the legs of beasts or the figures of captives. Generally speaking, the higher ranked individual was, the taller and more sumptuous was the chair he sat on, and the greater the honor on state occasions, the pharaoh sat on a throne, often with a little footstool in front of it. The average Egyptian family seldom had chairs, and if they did, it was usually the only master of the household who sat on a chair. Along the better off, the chairs might be painted to look like ornate inlaid and carved chairs of the rich, but the craftsmanship was usually poor. The earliest images of chairs in China are from 6th century Buddhist murals and stelae, but the practice of sitting in chairs at the time was rare. It wasn't until the 12th century that chairs became widespread in China. Scholars disagree on the reasons for the adoption of the chair. The most common theory is that the chair was an outgrowth of indigenous Chinese cult furniture that evolved from a camp stool imported from Central Asia, and it was introduced to China by Christian missionaries in the 7th century. And that chair came to China from India as a form of Buddhist monastic furniture in modern China. Unlike Korea or Japan, it is no longer common to sit at floor level. In Europe, it was owing in great measure to the Renaissance that the chair ceased to be a privilege of state and became a standard item of furniture for anyone who could afford to buy it. Once the idea of privilege faded from the chair, speedily came into general use. Almost at once, the chair began to change every few years to reflect the fashions of the day. Thomas Edward Bowditch visited the main palace of the Ashanti Empire in 1819 and observed chairs engrossed with gold in the empire. In the 1800s, chairs became more common in American households, and usually there was a chair provided for every family member to sit down to dinner. By the 1830s, factory manufactured family chairs, or fancy chairs, like those by Sears, Roebuck, and Co. allowed companies to purchase machine sets. With the Industrial Revolution, chairs became much more available. The 20th century saw an increasing use of technology in chair construction with such things as all-metal folding chairs, metal-legged chairs, the slumber chair, molded plastic chairs, and ergonomic chairs. The recliner became a popular form, at least in part due to radio and television. The modern movement of the 1960s produced new forms of chairs: the butterfly chair, originally called the Hordoi chair, beanbags, and the egg-shaped pod chair that turns. It also introduced the first mass-produced plastic chairs, such as the Bowfinger chair in 1966. Technological advances led to molded plywood and wood laminate chairs, as well as chairs made of leather or polymorphs. Mechanical technology incorporated into the chair enabled adjustable chairs, especially for office use. Motors embedded in the chair resulted in massage chairs. I hope you guys loved my TED Talk of chairs. Have a wonderful day.